right now. From Milwaukee, this is today's TMJ4, live at 6.
Now at 6, bombshell details surrounding the school shooting in Florida. The FBI admits it failed to act on a tip about Nikolas Cruz last month, claiming Cruz had access to guns and had a, quote, desire to kill.
Florida Governor Rick Scott is now calling on the FBI director to resign because of this snafu. Meanwhile, Governor Scott Walker was in Waukesha today. We asked him about the shooting in Florida and what needs to be done in Wisconsin to prevent school shootings like the one in Parkland.
Part of it, even before you get to this, is really re-examining and making sure that no matter what the issue is, that we're, whether it's what we saw the other day or an explosive or anything else, we want everyone in our state to be safe, but particularly our schools.
Right now in Wisconsin, it is illegal for a felon to own a firearm. There used to be a 48-hour holding pattern for people who wanted to buy a gun. That was abolished back in 2015.
Ariel Garanja was in Waukesha with the governor this afternoon.
She joins us after speaking with a mental health expert about what needs to be done.
Governor Walker says school districts across the state have asked for more money to deal with mental health. Mental health experts say it's time families became more comfortable addressing this issue.
It has been widely reported that those closest to 19-year-old Nikolas Cruz, the man charged with killing 17 people, suspected he was mentally ill and showed signs of depression, but he was never diagnosed.
He's just always been a really crazy kid. And I heard some people say that one day he would have done this.
Since Cruz wasn't a convicted felon, he was legally able to buy an AR-15 last year in Florida. Wisconsin law also would not have prevented a person with the same background to purchase that kind of gun. Governor Scott Walker argues there are other measures in place to deal with those who are mentally ill.
If someone had been committed through the mental health system and had an order against them, that would also block them from purchasing a firearm.
But that wasn't the case for Cruz either.
It's very difficult as you know, we want folks to have freedom in this country.
Mental health experts like Jerry Halverson at Rogers Behavioral Health say it's challenging in Wisconsin to have adults evaluated for mental illness unless they are a known danger to society.
A police officer can do this. If you're in a hospital on an inpatient unit, a psychiatrist can do this.
Halverson says while a vast majority of those with a mental illness would never commit such a horrific crime, not getting help can lead to these catastrophic outcomes.
We have to start talking about it more. And if people feel comfortable discussing these thoughts and feelings, it might be more open to getting treatment.
Walker says he spoke with the Wisconsin Attorney General today to talk about possible measures to ensure a mass shooting like this could be prevented in Wisconsin. Ariel Garanja, today's TMJ4.
As we mentioned, Florida's Republican governor is calling for FBI Director Christopher Wray to resign after his agency admits failure on a tip about the Florida school shooter.
I talked with NBC's Chuck Todd with Meet the Press about how this might play out in the political debate over the school shooting.
It's an odd call for him to resign for a number of reasons, but the biggest one is Wray just got there, right? He's barely, so, you know, this is, if you believe there's a systemic issue, allow the new guy to actually put in a new system.
You can hear more from Chuck Todd this Sunday morning on Meet the Press. That's Sunday at 8 on today's TMJ4. And coming up at 6:15, PolitiFact Wisconsin checks a claim comparing school shootings in the U.S. to the rest of the world. They are the most direct signs yet. Russia tried to interfere with the 2016 presidential election.
And it comes as Special Counsel Robert Mueller investigates if there was improper coordination between the Kremlin and the Trump campaign.
Ariel Garanja is here with more on this major development. Ariel?
Deputy Attorney General Rod Ronenstein says the goal of 13 Russians charged today was spreading distrust of 2016 candidates in the political system. The indictment alleges the Russians used bogus social media postings and ads they had fraudulently purchased in the name of Americans and used them to try and sway political opinion, including supporting Donald Trump's campaign and disparaging Hillary Clinton. One of those indicted, a Russian businessman known as Putin's chef, who says, quote, Americans are very responsible people, unquote.
And the nature of the scheme was that the defendants took extraordinary steps to make it appear that they were ordinary American political activists, even going so far as to base their activities on a virtual private network here in the United States. If anybody traced it back to that first jump, they appear to be American.
Rosenstein also says there is no allegation that any American was a knowing participant in the Russian plot or that the outcome of the 2016 election was affected. Maggie?
Thanks, Ariel. We have some breaking news just into our newsroom. A preliminary 7.5 magnitude earthquake is shaking buildings in South and Central Mexico. It's unclear if there are any injuries. Now to the sentencing of Shanice Davis. Davis killed 58-year-old Carol Daniel last April in a hit-and-run crash near 92nd and Lisbon. Brandon Rook has the story.
Davis will now spend close to a decade in prison. It was a highly emotional day in court as she apologized for her actions.
I'm sorry for the mistakes and what I did. I caused the death of someone, and that's something that I have to live with for the rest of my life.
In tears, 29-year-old Shanice Davis showed remorse.
My actions was not called for.
This minutes before Judge Carolina Stark gave her a stiff sentence of 9.5 years. Davis is sentenced for being the driver of a car that hit and killed 58-year-old Carol Daniel last April. The victim was a pedestrian, and according to court records, she was trapped under Davis's SUV when Davis drove back and forth trying to flee from the scene. Davis had marijuana in her system.
You hurt my family deeply, but I will never forgive you.
Family members of the victim say although it's almost been a year, there is still a huge hole left in their hearts.
The human being you so horrifically killed was a lovely, gentle spirit with a generous heart for family and friends. Years spent behind bars cannot make up for a life snatched away.
Davis is not eligible for early release. However, she is being given credit for almost a year already served. From the Milwaukee County Courthouse, Brandon Rook, today's TMJ4.
After a decade of serving Milwaukee, Ed Flynn retired as police chief today. Flynn announced last month he would retire. He faced a lot of criticism from the Fire and Police Commission, the entity in charge of hiring and firing police chiefs. Alfonso Morales was sworn in as interim police chief this morning.
Habitual parking violators could soon have an incentive to pay their outstanding tickets. A new proposal will allow the city of Milwaukee to put a boot on your car once you get 5 or more parking tickets and don't pay them within a 2-month period. Critics calling the new Black Panther more than a movie about superpowers and saving the world. Ariel Garanja is here with local efforts to help young people see this film.
Local groups are buying tickets in bulk because they say it's about time their kids get to see superheroes that look like them.
There will be no such thing as a slow day at the theater this weekend.
This is really about a movement, so I think it's important.
So important, Vicki LaFleur gathered more than 50 students from the UWM Educational Talent Search Program and treated them to a day at the theater with, of course, popcorn, all free of charge.
You really don't see this in Hollywood, so, for people to come out and support, I think that is a beautiful thing.
LaFleur's pride in response to the movie and its representation of blackness is something that's felt not only in Milwaukee, but across the country, too.
Naturally, it is very important that our kids see superheroes that look like them. I also think it's important that they have cultural relevance.
Haynes is also taking a group of about 40 teens and a few parents to see Black Panther this evening, but she says she wants the movie's message to resonate with her students long after the final scene.
Please do whatever you can to really not just expose your kids to it, but really have that talk afterwards. What does this mean? How do you feel now after seeing this? And, what can you take away from it?
The movie earned an estimated $25.2 million in its preview at U.S. theaters yesterday, setting a new record for a February release in the newsroom. Ariel Garanja, today's TMJ4.
Still ahead on Live at 6, it's the Olympics in Wisconsin. See how one school brought a little bit of South Korea to Menominee Falls.
And then PolitiFact Wisconsin checks a claim about how the United States compares to the rest of the world when it comes to school shootings. Here's what's on TV tonight. The Olympic Zone is up next at 6:30. That's followed by the Winter Olympics on today's TMJ4. Then join us for more local news after the games. Here's Here's a live look from Pyeongchang, South Korea, where it's already the weekend because of the time difference. There's a little more than a week left until the closing ceremony. Students in Menominee Falls held their own Olympics today.
Yes, they did. There were events like curling and bobsledding at Grace Lutheran School. It was also a learning experience. Students who organized had to research each country and assign teams.
Instead of just coaching them to watch it on TV and talking about it in classes, we wanted to take the next step to give them an understanding of how the Olympics work, to have some respect for the other countries.
Students who won events even walked away with medals.
Spoiler alert, we're about to show the Olympic gold medal count. Turn away now if you don't want to know. Germany leads with the most gold medals. They've got 9 right now. Norway and the Netherlands are tied with 6 each. The United States is next with 5 gold medals, and Canada has 4. Tonight you can catch alpine skiing, snowboarding, skeleton, and figure skating on today's TMJ4. The action starts at 7 right after the Olympic zone. And check out our special online section. It has photo galleries, highlights, and the latest on Wisconsin's athletes. Find it on our app or at tmj4.com/Olympics. Up next, PolitiFact Wisconsin checks a claim about school shootings in the United States.
And then we want to help plan your weekend. Jesse Ritka will be back with a full look at your forecast when we return. The school shooting in Florida has once again started a debate about how often they happen in the U.S. and why. But when looking at the number of school shootings, PolitiFact Wisconsin says there are a couple of caveats.
This tweet by political analyst and UW-Madison graduate Jeff Greenfield generated more than 130,000 likes. In the rest of the world, there have been 18 school shootings in the last 20 years. In the U.S., there have been 18 school shootings since January 1st.
The only way to get to 18 in terms of school shootings in the U.S. this year is by using a broad definition.
That definition includes everything from mass shootings to gunfire in a school parking lot.
So that includes not only the mass shootings like at the one in Florida, but instances where there are gunfire outside of a school, maybe gunfire in a parking lot, even accidental shootings and suicides.
PolitiFact Wisconsin says there have been 3 mass shootings this year in the U.S. As for the 18 school shootings over the last 20 years in the rest of the world, PolitiFact Wisconsin says there's no way to know.
There is research to indicate that there's more gun violence generally in the U.S., but there's no count of school shootings around the world using that broad definition.
Hours after posting the tweet, Greenfield took it down. PolitiFact Wisconsin rated this claim mostly false, meaning it contains only an element of truth.
The man shot by a Brown Deer police officer took the stand today in that officer's trial. Manuel Burnley Jr. was escorted off a bus back in March of 2016 by officers Devon Kramer and Michael Lehman. Video shows the 3 fall to the ground in a scuffle. That's when Kramer shot Burnley. During today's testimony, Burnley says Lehman then used a racial slur.
I remember asking, like, did y'all just shoot me? And he called me out my name.
What does that mean, call you out your name?
He called me the N-word.
Lehman denies using the racial slur. Burnley Jr. will continue his testimony when court resumes on Monday.
Here's Ariel with a look at what's next in sports.
Thank you, Andrew. Why American figure skater Adam Rippon says the ice in this year's Winter Games is magic. That's after the break. As we get you ready for another night of the Winter Games in Pyeongchang tonight, you'll get your first chance to see Lindsey Vonn in primetime as she competes in the women's Super G.
It's what I think about when I wake up in the morning. It's what I think about when I go to bed at night. It's all I think about. I'm motivated.
American figure skater Adam Rippon is stealing some of the spotlight in these Winter Games. Last night in the short program, he put on a show in front of the packed house, scoring 87.95. Tonight, he's back on the ice in the free skate. He's currently in 7th place.
I've worked
so hard to get to this moment. And so I knew if I had nerves, I would be able to push past them and put on a great performance. And that's exactly what I wanted to do, and I'm so glad I was able to deliver on that. All ice is the same, but Olympic ice has some magic to it. And, you know, I always want to bring some magic to the ice. So, you know what? It's just the perfect combination of all of my hard work and that little bit of magic ice.
One of the best stories of speed skating, Erin Jackson switched from inline skating to on-ice speed skating just 6 short months ago. And now she's getting ready for the 500 in Pyeongchang.
I was getting closer and closer to the top American girls, and I thought that was really exciting, but I was also a little frustrated that I hadn't come out here sooner onto the ice. I think I'm just going to go into athlete mode, just be calm, cool, collected, really focused, just to get out there and rely on what I've done in training and trust all of that, and just go as fast as I can for hopefully less than 40 seconds.
Here's a trivia question for you. Who are the only 3 U.S. Winter Olympians that have medaled in 3 consecutive games? 2 are pictured here. Bonnie Blair Cruikshank and Julia Mansuko are pictured here. The other, Apollo Ono. And here is Bonnie with Team USA women's hockey goalie Alex Rigsby. Fellow Lake Country Olympians, Rigsby of Delafield went to Arrowhead and the University of Wisconsin. Now we move on to baseball, where the Milwaukee Brewers are all ready to roll down in Arizona for spring training. And it's nice to see Yovani Gallardo back in a Brewers uniform down in Arizona. It's a big spring training for him as he looks to get his career back on track after a couple of tough seasons with Baltimore and Seattle. The Brewers will give him $2 million if he can make their final roster. Here's Brewers manager Craig Counsell on Gallardo, who started his big league career here in Milwaukee.
You know, I talked to him earlier this winter, but I just saw him, and yeah, I don't care who you. It's, you know, a place you spent a lot of time at. It's a little surreal always walking back into that place, and you know, he said it felt like I'd been gone a long time, but it really hasn't been, you know, that long. Everything's going. You know, it's certainly a big camp for him, and you know, a camp where he's got something to prove. So it's you know, it's got a lot of motivation to be going.
That's sports tonight. The Olympic Zone is up next. I'm Ariel Garanja. Here's what's coming up next on the Olympic Zone. She's a speed skater who made history in Milwaukee. The unbelievably short time Erin Jackson trained on the ice before qualifying for the Olympics. That's what's coming up next on the Olympic Zone.
So do you think if I got on the ice now, I could be ready by the next Olympics?
You know what? I think you've got a fighting chance at that. Start now, train every day for 4 years. You might get there.
Yeah, maybe.
Thank you for joining us at 6.
The Olympic Zone is next. We will see you back here after the Olympics.
Right now, from Milwaukee, this is today's TMJ4, live at 5.
Right now at 5, an unseasonably warm Sunday here in southeast Wisconsin, but an ice storm warning has already been issued for tomorrow. The possibility of flooding is a real concern as well over the next couple days.
Andrew Goldstein is here to time it all out for us.
Thank you so much, Ariel. Well, we all want warm weather. That's what we like, right? Well, we are getting it. It's just the way we're getting it that's a little bit dicey. It's going to be 46 tomorrow, 50 on Tuesday, but it'll be driving rain. We may even have some thunderstorms as we get into tomorrow evening's commute and into Tuesday. It's going to clear up in the middle of the week, 32 Wednesday, 37 on Thursday, but then the storms come right back towards the end of the week. What's happening is the jet stream is kind of pushing up north of our area, so we're getting snow up in central and western Wisconsin, but they're all going off to our west, creating ice and mixed precipitation here. We'll have more on that later. Maggie, Ariel, back to you.
Thanks, Andrew. Today, Milwaukee City leaders called on the state legislature to vote no on a bill they say will cost taxpayers and negatively affect the way police officers and firefighters are disciplined.
The mayor held a news conference this afternoon with the new interim police chief to outline their frustrations with this bill. The mayor's two main concerns: the bill would require the city to continue paying salaries of officers and firefighters who are criminally charged for at least 10 days after a disciplinary hearing. The current law allows departments to suspend employees 30 days before a hearing. Keep in mind, some of these hearings take months or more to get on the calendar. The law would also require the mayor to choose new members of the Fire and Police Commission from a list of current members from the union, which the mayor says will create a conflict of interest in disciplinary matters.
They're trying to make us pay salaries for people who've been charged with crimes, and it's got to stop. These attacks on local government and the city of Milwaukee in particular have to stop.
The state assembly is supposed to vote on the bill this week. Ricky Mitchell is speaking to one of the authors of the bill and will have more coverage tonight at 10.
Milwaukee police and the medical examiner were called out to a home near 5th and Burleigh on the north side early this morning after a baby was found dead. The exact cause of death has not been revealed.
Two men face charges after a fight at a Taco Bell drive-thru leads to gunfire. West Bend police were called to a restaurant on Main Street near Vine early Saturday morning. They say people in two cars were arguing in the drive-thru when a man in one of the cars fired a gun. No one was hit, but the man was arrested for recklessly endangering safety. Another man in the car was arrested for disorderly conduct. A scare last night for UWM students. The University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee sent out 3 alerts after 2 robbery suspects crashed their car, then ran into the student union. Milwaukee police say the two were last seen running off campus toward the Shorewood area.
Business owners are left picking up the pieces after a massive fire on Milwaukee's north side.
The tire recycling plant known as Tire Express went up into flames 10 days ago, but that wasn't the only company affected. Andrew Goldstein was on the scene the night of the fire and joins us with more on cleanup efforts still underway.
Ariel and Maggie, it may look like I'm standing on a frozen pond, but I'm actually inside a warehouse that's connected to that tire plant. And the ice that covers the floor is so thick, the owner says it might take months to melt.
The ice was actually up to the top of that bucket there.
And although it isn't as thick as it once was,
That's all buried in ice.
sheets of ice still cover Clark King's warehouse floors.
It's going to be a while. I figure it's probably going to take probably April or May before this place really thaws out.
The ice inside formed after gallons of water were used to fight a fire that burned for 3 days at the fire recycling facility connected to King's Scrap Metal Depot.
Yeah, I was mad. Yeah, I was mad. You'd be mad too.
Fire crews even knocked out a wall in King's building to gain access to the fire, and the aftermath is nothing short of ice cold.
I don't want to work in here with this mess on the floor. I slip and fall, break a leg. I don't need that hassle right now.
King says the icy irritation has disrupted his life, but despite feeling like his warehouse has been hung out to dry, he's still looking on the bright side.
So it kind of slowed me down a little bit, but we'll get through it.
You're going to keep going?
Oh yeah, I got to keep going.
The fire department says a piece of machinery is what caused this accidental fire. Andrew Goldstein, today's TMJ4.
Wisconsin has some of the highest home electricity prices in the country, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. That's despite the average Wisconsin customer using far less electricity than in any other state. Experts say our rates are high because of built-in costs and a combo of legacy infrastructure and business models. Madison, Wisconsin has been ranked in the top 25 of best small towns in America. The National Geographic ranking is based on the amount of green space, coffee shops, and music venues. The magazine mentioned Madison's parks and bike-friendly culture as top draws.
It's not exactly the Olympics. In fact, those participating in a run today in Milwaukee didn't even break a sweat. St. Joan and Tita High School's 3rd annual Nun Run benefits students and isn't actually a run at all, or even a walk. Instead, participants raise pledges, then head to the refueling party.
This is more a get-together with friends, one each other, and kind of just help out and support the causes.
Even though there's no finish line to cross, prizes were still handed out at the party. They went out for biggest team and most money raised.
Spoiler alert, we're about to update you on the Olympic gold medal count.
Turn away now if you're not caught up and don't want to know before watching the competitions yourself. Germany and Norway lead the pack with 9 gold medals each. They're followed by the Netherlands with 6. And the U.S. and Canada are tied with 5 gold medals apiece.
And check out our special online section. It features photos and highlights from Pyeongchang and the latest on Wisconsin's athletes competing in the Winter Games. Find it on our app or at tmj4.com/Olympics. Coming up, beginning the healing process where families in Florida gather today to honor the victims of the school shooting and thank first responders.
And a boat crash caught on camera, why some think this collision was no accident. Take a look at this. Cameras on a Greek patrol boat captured the moment a Turkish Coast Guard ship slammed into it. What's not clear from the footage is whether this was a deliberate crash. Some leaders are saying it was intentional since it happened near several uninhabited islands that Turkey and Greece both claim are theirs. Amazingly, no one was hurt in that crash.
People in southern Mexico are trying to salvage anything they can after a powerful earthquake shook the area. The 7.2 magnitude quake hit Friday night, destroying about 50 buildings and knocking out power. Crews are still working to clear roads so officials can survey the damage. The good news is that as of now, there are no reported deaths.
A packed house this morning at a church near the school in Florida where a gunman went on a rampage last week. One of the young victims of that shooting was a member of the church. Today's service focused on healing. Worshippers lit candles for each of the 17 victims. First responders were also recognized with a standing ovation and a long round of applause.
JetBlue wants to help the families impacted by the school shooting in Florida. The airline is offering free flights to Miami for any family members who are out of state and need to attend their loved ones' funerals. JetBlue also partnering with the rideshare company Lyft to provide free car rides as well.
Coming up, it's almost time to get your fix. 80,000 boxes of Girl Scout cookies have arrived in southeast Wisconsin. Now the frenzy of delivering them begins.
And even better news, Harry Potter fans, get ready, where you can visit a fun pop-up event featuring all things Hogwarts and Wizards.
I'm so excited for that.
Black Panther rules the weekend box office. Marvel's first film, directed by an African-American with all African-American actors, smashed the record for an opening in February, bringing in an estimated $192 million.
Calling for all wizards, a Harry Potter pop-up bar is coming to Cudahy this spring. The Wizarding World will spend 3 weeks at Cudahy's City Lounge. You can indulge in themed food and drinks. There will also be a house party for each of the Hogwarts Wizard houses. The pop-up bar opens March 21st and runs until April 7th.
Drumroll please, Girl Scout cookies are here. Today, 2 semi-trucks delivered 84,000 boxes of cookies to Oak Creek. Volunteers spent the day sorting all those boxes so they can be taken to troops. The Girl Scouts will start delivering orders this week. Not a bad day out there, but a big change is on the way. Some areas under a flood warning to start the week.
Andrew Goldstein is here with the Storm Team forecast.
That I am, and I think I may need some Girl Scout cookies to get through the weather we're going to have in the next 48 hours or so. Pounding rain on Monday and Tuesday. It's going to be warm, but that's not going to be much solace. Lots of thunderstorms in the area, particularly around the evening commute tomorrow. Starts to get a little bit colder, 32 on Wednesday, 37 on Thursday. And then we have more precipitation coming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday as we have rain, snow, all that stuff coming into the area. So if you are making any plans either toward the beginning or end of this week, I would certainly maybe not cancel them, but at least take extra precautions. Maybe leave early.
Coming up in sports, Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo tells what's changed in his game as prepares for second All-Star game tonight.
Giannis Antetokounmpo getting ready to start in his second All-Star game tonight out in LA at the Staples Center. The Bucks superstar ready to show off his game with some of the greats. How popular is Giannis these days? Well, he beat out LeBron James for the players' vote in the Eastern Conference for this year's All-Star game. He's second in the league in scoring, averaging 27 points per game, and first in the league in high-flying dunks. Giannis is becoming a force in the NBA, and he's in the MVP conversation. Here he is on being more of a leader this season.
I was a leader since I was young, maybe not on the court, but off the court with my family. But the only thing I think that's changed lately in these years is that I'm more talkative, more vocal. I'm not scared to say my opinion to my teammates, and I'm just trying to make them feel confident and play hard. Lately, we've been having fun. We've been playing hard. For right now, I don't think anything is missing, but for sure we got to figure it out as a team more and play hard, because I think we're really talented. We can get the first seed, but we got to play together.
And the Americans got their first medal in speed skating in Pyeongchang this weekend when John Henry Krieger surprised everyone by winning a silver medal in the 1,000-meter short track race. Here he is on winning silver after missing the Winter Games in 2014.
I'm not the kid anymore that missed the Olympics due to illness. I'm the young kid from Pittsburgh who overcame adversity and got second place in the Olympics. A silver medalist, it's a huge accomplishment, and I don't think there's any reason to worry about that swine flu story anymore. Yeah.
The Marquette Golden Eagles showed a lot of fight late last night in their comeback win over Creighton on the road. And they had to do it without their best player, Marcus Howard, who reportedly hurt his hip on this drive in the first half, colliding with Creighton's Toby Hegner. He would leave the game and not return. Down by 15 the first half, the Golden Eagles rallied. Thanks to 7 quick points from Andrew Rousey, nice up and under there. He finished the game with 21. Sophomore Sakar Annam picked up the slack with Howard out of the game and scored 26 points. The Marquette's 90-86 win on Saturday night. Golden Eagles are 15-11 on the season, and they'll play St. John's next. Here's head coach Steve Wojciechowski on Howard's injury.
I don't have any information in terms of, what the prognosis or diagnosis is. Obviously, he took an incredibly hard fall. He was in extraordinary pain, and we're hopeful and praying for great news, the best news possible, and a speedy recovery. But more than that, I don't have any information.
Let's take you down to Arizona, where the Brewers are putting their first week in the books down at spring training. The team will be adjusting to some new faces down there, like outfielder Christian Yelich, who the Brewers picked up in a trade with the Miami Marlins. Here's Yelich on coming to Milwaukee.
Yeah, I was excited. All that stuff happens really fast. I know there's a lot of rumors throughout the offseason. I didn't really have any idea where I was going to end up. Finally got the call that I was coming here to Milwaukee, and was excited to join this group. These guys had a great season last year, so I'm just excited to add to that and be a part of what they already got going.
Opening day just 6 weeks away. That's a look at sports. We're back after the break.
Your estimated jackpot for the Badger 5 lottery is $10,000. And here are last night's winning Powerball numbers: 13, 26, 39, 44, 62. Powerball is 2 and Power Play is 3.
Here's a look at tonight's primetime lineup on today's TMJ4. More action from the Winter Olympic Games begins at 6. That's followed with more local news at Live at 10.
Andrew, can you tell us a little bit more about the weather this week, what we can look forward to?
Yeah, rain's going to start in about 12 hours. It'll be heavy for the next 24, 36 after that. Clearing up towards the middle of the week. Still going to be relatively chilly, although I guess not by Wisconsin standards. And then finally, the rain returns once we get into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So next weekend, not looking particularly good. Hope you didn't have any plans.
I know. You know what? Good thing I'll just be here. Thanks for joining us at 5. We hope to see you back here at 10.
The NBC Nightly News is next.